sir.
All right, cool. We in here. What's up, Iz?
What's happening, man?
Avila is here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
One half of the famous Avila Brothers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's up?
You know what's crazy? I was talking to somebody the other day about, how the IE is on a good wave right now. There's a lot of talent coming out of the IE.
Yep.
And I was like, but there's been, for the longest time, there's been so much talent out here. There's been people out here that have done things, accomplished amazing things.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just hasn't been talked about enough or something, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I feel like you and your brother are like a good example of that. Like, you guys from the IE have done amazing things, and I think it just needs to be talked about more.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm glad you're in here, man, to kind of give everybody the history.
Yeah, for sure.
You know
I think, at the end of the day, man, when you're able to, accomplish and do some of the things that me and my brother have been able to do, I mean, it's mandatory to come home to make sure that it's not just the accolades and the things we talk about, but it's really about how do we pass that torch for the next generation coming up, especially from the hometown. You have so much history out here between you and your brother. Yeah.
You were nice enough to send me the little one sheet, but a lot of the stuff on there I kind of already knew.
Yeah.
Multi-Grammy award winning, multi-platinum selling, Super Bowl halftime show producing.
Yeah.
One thing that I did not know that I read was that you were signed to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Yes.
Which I thought was super dope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick before we get there, shouts out to my man Mastermine back here.
What up, Mastermine?
My guy. He was telling. What's the name of the song that you had me look up?
Bobby's song, La La Love.
Oh, La La Love. Yep, that was off Perspective in '92. I want to say.
Isn't that crazy? I was like, this is on some like the barge type.
Yeah.
I loved watching it. You know what I mean? The early looks. How it was. Give me the early story about like how you guys came up.
For sure.
The musicality in your family and. From there.
So, man, honestly, it really started with my pops. My pops was a keyboard player, and they used to rehearse at the house, and the garage was where they rehearsed, and the garage was right next to our bedrooms. And so them rehearsing that night, we couldn't really get no sleep. So my pops used to be like, hey, you can stay up cool, come and watch us rehearse. So I always went and sat by the drummer. My brother went and sat by the keyboard player. And so through that is where we discovered our love for me, drums, my brother, the keys. And so as we started to kind of just that became a routine, like get up, go watch them rehearse. And so that led to me getting my first drum set when I was 5. Bobby had got his keys. And
it almost have been so loud in that
man,
house,
it was organized racket. But going through that process, right, as a 5-year-old, figuring it out to the point where my dad would sneak us on stage while his band would break, and he'd make us go up there and play.
Now, your pops was in a band. Was he in like any kind of like was it like a traveling band? Or they played?
It was like a traveling band where they played like the top 40 records, And my pops was a cat who had all the venues. He had all the relationships, and so all the musicians wanted to be in his band because he had the work, right? He can guarantee like, cool, I got these gigs. And he always surrounded himself with incredible musicians.
Right.
One of the cats, James Felix, who came from Andre Crouch and the Disciples, played with Toto, all those cats. And so being around those guys when you're 5 years old, man, you just sponge as much as you can. And so it got to the point, like I said, where Pops was sneaking us on stage in the breaks. And that's really how we got used to playing in front of people, right? And then that eventually led to us making our own music, my brother getting a deal at 12 years old. And here's what's crazy. The cat who first broke my brother's record was a gentleman by the name of Daley Harvison, who was from 99.1 KGGI in 89. So he broke my brother's record in 89.
Here on the radio?
Here on the radio, bro.
In the IE.
And that's really where it all started.
Right.
And him breaking that record for my brother, our first show was at Succombe Lake.
Wow.
Right, and then we did the Orange Show, and the next thing you know, we landed the New Kids on the Block tour, Hanging Tough.
Oh, that's awesome,
man! So I'm 11 years old, traveling the road, playing in front of 17,000 people.
So see, I'm always curious, like when you talked about your story, I'm curious of the story. I mean, how do you just go from being a son to your pops, around all the stuff, and the musicality, growing up in the household, you guys are, he playing the drums, you're playing what you're playing. I mean, you kind of jump from there to getting signed. How do you just get signed? Are you just around label people all the time? How do you get noticed? Because it's not like you could drop songs on YouTube back in those days.
For sure.
Like, how did you guys even get noticed?
Well, I'll tell you, man, it was like Toys R Us in the house, where we had all types of equipment around. My dad had drum machines. He had the Linn drum machine. He had turntables. He had vinyl. He had keys. And so that young, those are our toys, right? So we start making music. I'm rehearsing with like breakdancing in the streets with the homies next door. And we're learning how to put shows together. And my dad worked with a gentleman by the name of Lee Silver, who was a Jewish cat who had a lot of relationships in music business. And so you go through that process of getting in the studio, putting your demo together, and setting up meetings. And that's at that time in the late 80s, it was all about who you can get on the phone, you could get your cassette to in your 8x10. Right. And so that's really the road we went, and we just pound the pavement. And that's how, my brother's deal got landed at RCA. And it was just that foot grind.
Was it a specific song that you guys got in the right hands? I mean, what was it?
It was what it was, man. Was a well-crafted demo that we recorded at a studio at the time called Avila, which was right next to Capitol Records. And I think because we had such high-level experience around us, like between what my pops knew, between what Lee Silver knew, by the time it was ready to present, man, it was like. It was a great package.
Right.
And remember, my brother was the only Latino at the time singing R&B like that. So it was something new, even to the point where folks didn't even really know how to market that. It's like, do we put him in the Latin division? Do we put him in pop? Do we put him in R&B? So it was always that, that conundrum of like, okay, what is this? We ain't seen anything like that. And my brother was playing all his instruments, producing, writing everything, right? And so 12 years old, bro. Like, what do you do with that?
So you get signed to which label?
RCA.
You get signed to RCA, which is your label mates with New Kids on the Block.
New Kids on the Block, bro, and then Zomba. Zomba had like KRS-One, Tribe Called Quest, Dr. Ice from UTFO. So all of that, man, all of that.
And so New Kids on the Block are going on a Hangin' Tough tour.
Yeah.
Which you get to open for New Kids on the Block on the Hangin' Tough tour, which if you guys are listening right now, people are like, who? What? This is like
one of the biggest groups in the world.
Oh, in the world.
Yeah.
These are the guys that paved the way for like New Edition. You know
for
what
sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
And bigger than NSYNC, and these guys are still touring today, by the way. So talk to me about that. You're 12, 13 years old on tour with New Kids on the Block, which they're about the same age.
They were like maybe 2 to 3 years older. Like they were like in the 16.
Right.
And I just remember all the work we did prior leading up to that. Remind you, like we were putting shows together in our backyard. I was rehearsing with all the dancers, figuring out the moves and all that stuff. And so by the time it came to putting that show together, by the time we got to the New Kids on the Block opportunity, we had already been in the trenches. And so, obviously different arena, right? You're going from playing in front of like a couple hundred people to like 23,000 people, right? And so you don't know what's going to happen. Adrenaline, forget your line, forget your step, But I think we were so well curated, and the discipline we had was like, we're coming out to kill. We're coming out to show you these West Coast kids right here, like we can hold this stage. And my brother went out there, sang his heart out, man. And I think at that time they had only guaranteed us like 3 weeks. Bro, after our first show, they were like, we need you on the rest of the tour. And, we always made it a point, like in our show, to implement the instrumentation. So my brother had his keyboards, I had my Octapad, and then our partner Terry had his little setup. And it was all about putting on a show. And that's really what carried us through.
Do you guys have any footage?
Tons of footage, bro. My dad.
You got to start throwing that stuff online.
So check this. So we're actually working on a documentary right now. But my dad was so forward thinking in his process. Like after we do our show, my dad would walk us around the arena, and we'd personally shake hands and take pictures with people. And that's how we started to build up this connection and understanding who our customer was, right? Who our fans were. And started the fan mail club, the whole nine. Like it was that time, man,
Yeah, man, that's wild. So how does that lead the way to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis?
Crazy story.
Okay, so we're throwing a lot of names out there. I mean, he threw out Toto earlier, Africa. So as we start to say these names, anybody that's watching right now, or just listening, if you're starting to hear these names, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, do you want to give them a little bit of their background and who they're responsible for?
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are the most successful songwriters and producers the world has ever seen.
Right.
You're talking
responsible for
you're talking anywhere from Janet to New Edition to Mariah Carey to SOS Band to Sherelle, Alexander O'Neal. I mean, the list goes
Bobby Brown,
on. Bobby
like,
Brown, Human League, right? I'm only human.
Listen, some of the biggest smashes of all time, so to be signed to a duo like that, just incredible. Boys to Men.
Boys to Men.
So.
And so, how that all happened was, we got to a point where we were now independent after like 2 years after leaving RCA. And my brother started working on another solo project, and we happened to be mastering that project at a spot called Bernie Grumman's, which is like the very, very well-known mastering facility where you take your project to go get mastered. And so we're sitting in the room with Brian. Brian's mastering for us. They call him Big Bass Brian, right? And he gets a phone call, and that phone call is Terry Lewis, and Terry Lewis is calling in to check on the process of a Janet record that he's waiting for to be done, being mastered. And so Brian says, he looks at it, says, hey, you guys have a deal. And we're like, well, who is it? He's like, it's Terry Lewis. And we're like, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis? He's like, yeah, Terry Lewis. Hell no, we ain't got a deal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. And honestly, man, this is how it went. 3 weeks later, we're in Minneapolis. And over the phone, Terry heard the music over the phone and asked, do they have a deal? And so 3 weeks we're in Minneapolis. My brother's working on his project. We had been working on my demo as well. And so my brother was the first one signed over there outside, between us. And my brother gave my demo to Jimmy Jam. And Jam and Lewis, they have this term called drive off the road music. And so got the tape to Jam. Jam hit Terry and was like, yo, this is some drive off the road music. So Terry calls us and says, hey, you ready to go? Like, you ready to go? So they signed me as an artist. My record came out, and then
you I'm sorry to cut you off. You and your brother are your own artists at this point.
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
Is the Avila Brothers a thing at this point, or does that come later?
Hadn't even been discovered yet.
Okay, so
yeah.
Bobby Ross has already been signed at this point.
Yep.
His career is going, and then are you the younger? Or
I'm younger. Yeah.
And then his younger brother, his younger brother comes along, equally as talented. And now it's your turn.
And now it's my turn. Okay. And my brother was the one who gave Jimmy Jam the demo, and then signed me, did the whole presentation, showcase, shot my video, the whole nine. And, it's just one of those things where it was like, preparation, right? And being in that moment. Because I remember getting ready to do my video, and I'm in Terry's office, and Terry looks at me and says, are you ready for this? Like, have you been looking at yourself in the mirror, getting your whole thing together, like understanding your gestures and everything? That's how... that breed of how you cultivate and curate talent is just...
Yeah, the artist development.
It's a different thing, right? Yeah. And so understanding that those were the questions being thrown at me, like I made sure by the time it was video time, I knew how I was going to look at the camera. I knew my angles. I knew I knew what I had to get off. And,
coming from somebody like him, was that Terry or was that
Terry?
Okay, and well, the both of them have been known or are known to have had just that style, you know what I mean? I was going to ask you when you first met them, were they wearing the hats? And
absolutely,
you know
bro.
What I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Terry would come to the studio, he always had on a dope jumpsuit, like he just got done balling.
Yeah.
And they just had their vibe, man. And what I love most importantly about our Jam and Lewis family is that they taught us etiquette in business. They taught us the importance of always respecting the craft, right? Always putting your craft first. And also understanding what the sacrifices were going to be that came along with that, and the discipline, which is why, anybody can walk up to me on the street and I'm going to talk to you. I'm not going to my chest ain't ever going to be poked out. I'm like, that's who we are. We grew up in Rialto, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Talk about it.
Those are the things that we were able to, really harness with just being in the environment with those guys, the masters, right? And, I always say, we thought we knew how to make records prior to meeting Jimmy and Terry. When we got to Flight Time, it was like a whole new lesson. Masterclass. And so, that I went through that phase. I ended up coming back home, and I wanted to finish my years in high school. I wanted to be normal.
You're still a kid, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it like? You getting homeschooled at this point?
Dude, yeah. So I started homeschool going into the fifth grade, my brother started homeschool going into the fourth grade. And so I just, you get to a point where, especially at that time, being so young and starting so early, I just was like, yo, I need a piece, I need a like a part of normalcy, and I remember telling my mom, like, I want to go back to school. I want to finish my high school year.
Yeah, you guys had like friends like around the block,
You know what, man?
You want to know school?
You want to know who our best friend was? Music.
Yeah, for sure.
24/7. And so at that point, like I said, man, I just was like, I had the folks I grew up with, my boy Jay Scott, Kenny Labrielle, and I just wanted to be in a space where I want to go back to high school. I want to experience that. My brother stayed on his music grind, but for me, I was like, I got to go back to high school. I need that piece. I need that component. And I went to Eisenhower.
Yeah, Ike
Mob. You already know. And I did my stint. And along that way, it was great for me because I got to meet people. I got to just understand that what that is. Not so much geared around music and entertainment. I just got to be in that space and meet new people and have new conversations. And to me, that was the most rewarding feeling.
What grade were you in when you went to high school?
I came into 10th grade.
You came in at 10th grade. Yeah. Did the students there know of your music background?
Yeah.
I mean, how was that? Like, was it like Justin Bieber going back to school?
Yeah,
or
it was like, man, what are you doing here? Or like, I was like, I'm here to be with you guys.
Because these kids probably got new Kids on the Block posters on their walls. And then you are coming off tour.
Yeah, and my single cassette was at the warehouse, literally right next to Eisenhower. Yeah. So,
kids, warehouses where you used to buy music.
We used to buy music. where you own the music you buy.
Yeah, where you actually own the music you buy,
So, and it was cool because, like, I remember, like, there was a couple of heads at the school that had my cassette single. Yeah. And so, for me, it was just like,
That's dope.
If anything, it was a way for me to, like, remind them, like, anything you're passionate and love, go chase it. Yeah, like, man. I'm here because I want to experience this piece of life too. I want to know what it's like to walk down that aisle, to maybe show up late to sixth period and all those things. And you know what, man? I got to experience it and I loved it.
Damn. Did you get like prom king or anything? I mean, were you popular when you went back?
I mean,
or did they kind of let you do your thing?
Man, I think at the end of the day, I think it wasn't so much about being popular. I just think I was just a magnet for good energy.
That's what's up.
And we had our squads. Like at that time, we were in our ciphers battling. We were, it was like, your gear you got on a polo, button up, Dockers and all that stuff. Like that was a vibe. Far Side had just came out, Souls of Mischief. So we were in the zone,
Yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Okay, so you're back, as a civilian.
Yep.
Bro is doing the music artist thing.
Yeah.
Now, how do we fast forward until where you guys link back up and become the Avila Brothers?
So, out of high school, I started doing these sessions with an engineer named D-Style, and at the time, D-Style was working on a young new artist coming up, and that artist was Macy Gray. Macy Gray. Mm. And she had a massive record called I Try. I try to say goodbye and I choke, right? So at that time, we're working on her demos, and D-Style has me playing all the drums on her demos. And she just took to me, man, and we had a great vibe. And one day she comes to me and she's like, hey, I want you to tour with me. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the numbers in my bank account, and I'm like, yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time to take advantage of this opportunity. And I went on this tour with me, and
what year is this?
This was 2000, but I was doing drum work in 1999, then 2000 came and got the tour opportunity. And I always made a point when I went on this tour, I had my drum kit and I had my MPC 3000 with me everywhere I went. So every city we went to, I would hit all the local vinyl stores with my man Fizz Ed. And I'd scoop up vinyl, get back to my hotel room and work on beats. And at that time, I was just like trying to burn as many CDs of beats as I could. In the meantime, Bobby's here in Cali, and this is the first time we've really been apart. So it was an adjustment. And so while he's in Cali, he secures another artist deal with Warner Brothers. So by the time I get off a tour, I have so much music ready to go. He's like, yo, I just got my deal. Let's go. So it was like the perfect time where I'm getting off tour. He's got his deal, and it's time to make music. And truthfully, that's probably a time where we made probably the best music we've ever made. And when I got back, I had sent a CD to Ahmad, who had the record back in the day.
Yeah,
and he had a new group at the time called Fourth Avenue Jones that was on Interscope. So I ended up landing a single on that, and then we had another cat that I was servicing beats to, and then Slim Kid Trey from the Far Side came, started working on stuff with him, and then Butch Cassidy came, had joints working with him, and so it was just that moment at that time where it was just nonstop. We were cooking. We did my brother's record, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, he's back on at home plate, and he's got to swing for the fences, and that was the mentality. And it's like, let's make the most fire record we can on you, and that's what we did. We came out to Philly. We worked on an artist, Leela James. We did her single called Music's Gone, and that did its thing. And we were just like, in the midst of doing this project, we were just cooking. And crazy thing, I was still drumming with Macy, and Macy had got an opportunity to do an MTV Iconic Award show, which was honoring Janet Jackson.
Okay.
So we were like, you know what? We're probably gonna run a Jam and Lewis again. Yeah. So bro, we literally put my brother's record on a CD. We put some beats on a CD, ran into them, gave them some CDs, and for some strange reason, the CDs didn't work. So they ended up reaching back out. Bob resent them the music, and we got that call from Terry again. All right, fellas, you guys ready to reunite? And next thing you know, we're back in Minnesota, and we're just cooking. And I think through that process is where we really learned the yin and the yang of what we were gonna do together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As you guys are cooking, are you guys? Has it been decided that you guys are known as the Avila Brothers, or did that just come organically?
Dude,
people started knowing, like, oh, these are the Avila Brothers. They make beats.
That's a great question. It organically became the thing where the Avila Brothers, yo, where the Avila Brothers at? Yo, the brothers. And so Terry was like, yo, that's your brand.
Yeah.
The Avila Brothers. And the beautiful thing with Terry was always proactive about us making sure we stamped that brand. Like, we do records, I was like, no, make sure it says by the Avila Brothers, musicians, Avila Brothers. And so he was really a champion that, where you hear the horror stories of crews and it's like, no, it's produced by this, but the guys in the back curtain are the ones that really do it. We never had that problem. Terry made it a point to make sure that our credit as the Avila Brothers was always listed.
Did it start saying that, like on the credits?
Every credit, bro.
Avila Brothers. Okay.
Every credit, yep, every credit. And, that we just took that and really made it, what it was going to need to be, which was something that always signified and represented timeless music. And, our catalog still to this day, it always represents timeless music. We never chased the trend. We never was like, oh, that's hot, let's do that. We just stuck to what we love and we do as creatives, which is make good music. And, that's like the origin of the Avila Brothers, was just us being in the trenches as a collective and just creating, nonstop creating. I'm
reading on your bio right here. It says that you guys have sold over 45 million records to date in pop music. Yeah. Can you name some of the artists or albums that you guys have contributed to that are part of that 45 mil? So I'm going to say right off the bat, people don't realize, sometimes, producers get producer credit, writers get writer credit. It's different ways to get credit for the albums that are sold. This doesn't necessarily mean that you sang a song that sold 45 million. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you worked with some incredible people that contributed to that. Yeah. Go for it.
So I think one of the things to definitely understand about what we do as producers, songwriters, and musicians, every song we've ever done, we've written, we've produced, and we've played all the instruments. And so one of the biggest albums that takes up a huge portion of that 45 million is obviously Usher's Confessions. Go! Right? Which we did 5 songs on, right? So you get a Grammy, you have to have a certain amount of percentage of real estate on an album as a producer to get a Grammy. Now, 5 songs is more than half the album, right? And so, when you have that type of real estate as a songwriter, producer, musician, you get your Grammys.
Not to cut you off, this guy they did one of my favorite songs on Usher. Did I go above the camera?
No, you good.
One of my favorite. You did Bad Girl, didn't you?
Yeah,
Let's
we
go.
did Bad Girl.
I was
Yeah.
hoping you was gonna say this. No, Nick Nack. That was the one we didn't do. Yo, one of my favorite songs on Usher's Confession album was Bad Girl, and that's the one, like, you know, when he sings at the lady. I mean,
What y'all know about it?
Hey,
Yeah, supermodel.
Listen, can you give me the story of Bad Girl?
Yes.
How it came about, how you wrote it. I mean, were you just
So, you know, the interesting thing with Bad Girl is, you know, Bad Girl was never a single, but when you go to the club, that's a
Thank
record
you.
a lot of DJs play.
It wasn't a radio
Yeah.
single. I mean, I'm sure it got played in radio because it was just so big in the streets, but it was such a huge joint off the album, such like a favorite cut of people. Yeah.
So the mindset behind that record, along with the mindset of creating Confessions, was we looked at Quincy Jones, right? When he did Thriller, he made it a point that every record spoke to a specific genre, which is why you had Van Halen on Beat It, you had the soul record, you had the duet with him and Paul McCartney. Every record served a purpose. And so we looked at Confessions as like, okay, what's that rock element, right? What's the rock element that's going to give you that, but still it's going to be funky, it's going to be infectious. And that was the mindset of how that record came about. And
Who's hitting those strings that's being
that's Bob
Come
on the keys,
Bobby.
you know, and then the grooves and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, when we went in, we were like, we had a great chorus, but we were like, but that's not the chorus yet. That's not the chorus. So we had to like sculpt the chorus and then a B section, because we really wanted that to be a statement for women. You know what I'm saying? Be a state, like when you look at the model runway, like that's the record a girl wants to walk down to. And so that was the whole mindset and concept behind Bad Girl, was like, what's that like runway for a model gonna look like? What does that sound like? And that was really the inspiration for Bad Girl.
When it came to Bad Girl or any of the other, the five that you did on Confessions, did you and Bobby do reference tracks for Usher, or did you arrange and he sang it?
Bro, you got great questions.
Come on, man.
You got great questions.
Come on, man. This is coming from, this is like a fan standpoint, you know what I mean?
So
Like-
first record that we landed was Truth Hurts.
Okay.
Crazy story with Truth Hurts is I had did that track for a group of friends that I went to high school with that was a rap group. And I had did that 3 years prior to ever meeting with Usher. But when I did it, my brother was always like, dude, I could hear Usher singing on that. 3 years go by, we meet Usher. And Terry is like, hey, we got Usher on the calendar, so if you got anything, you know, in the pocket, you know, let's start to put those
How
records
did the
together.
Usher link originally happen? Backstage at a concert?
No. So he was, you know, this was time he was coming off the 8701 steam, and he was getting back into record mode. And, you know, Terry was like, you know, he's gonna cruise by the studio. We'll probably just all chop it up. But if you got some stuff, oh, he was in the space, and it was funny because the process was, he came, we met him, great vibes. We didn't touch an instrument for like 3 weeks. What we did was we took him around the local malls to remind him of who he was. Because he was in a space like, okay, where do I go now? 8701 was pretty big, right? So he was in that space. And so for 3 weeks, bro, it was hangout. All the way to the point where the A&R, Mark Pitts, was like, man, when are you guys going to make music? We're like, this is the process. And then played Truth Hurts. And he was just like, what in the world? And everything just started coming to life. And we were only supposed to do one song, bro. We did Truth Hurts. He went back to Atlanta, played it for LA. And LA was like, whatever that is, you need to get back out there. Get back out there and work with them. So he came back out, and bro was literally, that's what it's made for. Simple things, seduction. And we were just in that frequency. You know what I mean? It was just flowing. And
That's what it is, man.
yeah.
Yo, that's crazy, man. I mean, what a phenomenal, just legendary album for you guys to be a part of. I mean, this is an album that's got contributions from Jermaine Dupri, and you know, you guys are really part of, you know, such an amazing part of R&B history. I mean, this is like, Confessions is one of those albums that just will never be forgotten.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about the greatest R&B albums of all time. I mean, can you give me like
honestly, bro, it's like our modern day Thriller. You know, Confessions is at 22 million now. And the interesting thing and the crazy thing is we're never going to see an album do those numbers again.
Crazy?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that's a body of work, and we've always really stood on the understanding of what a body of work of music means, right? Got to be able to put it in and listen to it from top to bottom and feel something, have an experience. Those are great albums. You know, Songs in the Key of Life, great albums. What's Going On, Marvin Gaye, great albums, right? And so those were our targets, man. It was like, here, you want to do something impactful, let's make sure whatever it is we do create can be here for the next 100 years.
And because it is such an, a legendary protected album in people's minds, heart, and souls in the history of music, how this is kind of a good word, protected. How protected are those? Like, do you still have the stems from Bad Girl? Like,
listen,
are those locked up in a vault so you can't fuck with them? You know what I mean? Like,
me and my brother were just talking about that, right? Because everybody in music likes to say, "Oh, I did this, I made this." But if you don't have the actual, I don't care if it's a zip disk, an actual session that you actually have in your possession, it's hard to believe that. But what I like about what we do, I have every disc to this day that I can load up and play it in song mode. I can turn down the sound. I can show you the sounds. Like, that's the origin of our creativity. And so, yes, we have stems, we have sessions, we have records that we bounced down the half-inch before we took to get mastered. Yeah. Right? So we're students of our creativity, man. And so those are the things, like, every now and then, bro, I'll load up a record we did for Janet Jackson and just try to figure out, man, what headspace was I in when I was working on that?
Right. Is that something that you could like sell? Like the stems to an Usher record? I mean,
you could do something with, because that's IP,
right?
You can like my entire drum program
intellectual
banks.
Property.
I could be like, hey, these are the banks from. That's what it's made for. I can move those because they're my sounds.
And what are they stored on? I mean, because I saw this Jermaine Dupri like documentary like on YouTube where he's going through songs that he made for Jagged Edge for Lil Bow Wow when he was Lil Bow Wow.
Yeah,
he's
floppy
like
disks.
Floppies.
Absolutely.
He's flipping floppies on the desk.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And he is very much that. Like, he is the origin for that creativity. He can load up those floppies at any given moment and say like, yeah, I'm the author of this. Like, listen.
Yeah.
Because that's those are the tools we used, to create that stuff.
Kids, a floppy disk is, imagine like a little thumb drive, but like it's a bigger size.
Yeah, with this much space to do anything, right?
None of the space.
We talk terabytes now, man. That floppy disk would probably weigh 1 million pounds if it had a terabyte on it. Yeah.
That's wild, man.
So
Billy Ray Cyrus, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige, Gwen Stefani, Anthony Hamilton, Trey Songz, Trigger, Earth, Wind, and Fire, as you named, just to name a few. When you start hearing these names, I mean, how often do you just reminisce in your own mind, like when you see Snoop on Instagram or something like that? Man, I remember when I had this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me some stories of like songs or maybe studio sessions with some of these iconic artists, man.
Man, there's so many of them. If Snoop was fun because we dragged Snoop all the way out to Nashville. And again, it was one of these things where I had did this track years ago, and my brother always said, like, whoever we put on that's got to be a very cool collaboration, right? And my brother was able to take that record, and he had a vision for it. And he got Billy Ray Cyrus, we got Snoop, and we created this record called A Hardworking Man. That we were coming out of the pandemic, and it was like, let's create a record where we honor like the folks who are in the trenches really working that don't get the spotlight, right? Nurses, dudes at construction, everybody that helps make this world go round. And true story, we got Snoop out to Nashville. We're getting ready to shoot the video, and we knew better than to sit in the back of the bus with Snoop. Because by the time it was time to get on camera, man, my lungs were so beat up. My lungs were so trash. And, just being in there and talking about music and what he loves. And he's a true student of music. Like, Snoop's library of real music is crazy. And so to be in those conversations, then Billy Ray's on the bus and we're just cracking jokes, and it's Snoop's and Billy's first time meeting, just kind of sitting back watching what that's going to be.
Legend meeting legend.
Legend meeting legend. And I'll never forget, there was a portion of this video where we had to shoot on standing on top of these diesel rigs. And Snoop was like, shit, man, and everybody was like,
like he didn't want to get up there?
Everybody was like, you're not going to be able to get Snoop up there. And man, he got up there and he was like, man, I'm rocking with you guys today. I'm out here in Nashville. I'm rocking with you guys today. And we shot that video, man. And what's crazy about the Hardworking Man video is it ended up getting picked up by the NFL and on Amazon for Thursday Night Football. PGA picked it up. MLB picked it up. And so just what that record did in licensing was beyond our imagination.
Right.
And I always think, man, I originally did that beat in SB 1200.
Yeah.
Right? A drum machine from 1987, 88. Yeah. And so when you see things like that can happen from creativity, you sometimes I still scratch my head on some of this stuff because it's like, man, you're pulling energy and creativity from the universe to try to put something together that impacts people, right? And so, being able to share that with Billy and Snoop and my bro, and DJ Quick mixed the record. So it was like,
is that DJ Quick in the video?
Yeah,
I see him.
Yeah. So it was just perfect timing, man, and it all the pieces came together. But we knew we had something with calling the song "A Hardworking Man."
Yeah. Let's fast forward to Super Bowl 2024.
Yeah.
Usher's halftime Super Bowl, which is one that we have all been waiting for so long.
Right.
Talk about getting the call to work on that and your involvement in that show, that iconic show.
So I had been touring with Usher for 14 years, and his DJ, percussionist, and then eventually ended up being his musical director. And how Super Bowl really came to life, we spoke it into existence because me and my brother and Lil Jon produced all his residency shows. So and we did that coming out of the pandemic.
You're talking about the Vegas shows.
Vegas, yep. So started with with Caesar's Palace, and then went over to Park MGM. And so the mindset when we started Caesar's Palace was, if we come into Vegas and we knock it out of the park, who knows? Maybe Super Bowl will come. We got to do the groundwork though. And so this was Usher's first time being in Vegas.
This is the Super Bowl that was in Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now it's
so the stars align, right? So we do what we do at Caesars and Park MGM. 100 sold out shows, nonstop. So we had lit Vegas on fire. He became that dude, got the key to the city. And so we did all the groundwork. And we started talking about, like, man, do you think he's going to get the call? Like, it's like they're going to be making that announcement soon.
Why even the thought of Super Bowl? I mean, was there whispers or something? I mean, just because he's got a lot of artists got Vegas residencies. Like, why were there?
I think for us, between myself, my brother, and Lil Jon, we just knew that was the next big thing for him. Like, out of all the things he's done as an artist and what he's represented, and he's been around for quite some time, and he's known for being a performer, we just were like, they got to call him. Like, and
at this time, when and by 2024, we're at the point to where, like, now it's such an anticipation to, like, everybody's wondering who's going to do it next year.
Right.
Because the shows have been so good.
Yeah.
Because this is after Snoop and Dre.
Yeah.
The shows are
Rihanna. Yeah.
Ever since Jay-Z kind of took over, did his thing, the shows have been, like, topping each other one after another.
Absolutely.
It's getting bigger, better, more views, more. So now by 2024, everybody who's going to do it.
Everybody's going to do it. So I'll never forget, it was August, and Usher had called me, and we're just catching up. And I asked him, I was like, man, do you think they're gonna, like, are you gonna get the call? And he's like, honestly, man, I've done as much as I can do. I'm hoping they do call me, but man, I've done everything I can. So, we're joking around. We get off the phone, and September rolls around, and crazy, bro. My brother calls me at 7 a.m. and he's like, did you get the news? Did you hear the news? And I was like, what? He's like, Usher's doing the Super Bowl. So, bro, I literally get on my phone and I see these text messages. In the text message, it says, I don't know where you are at in the world, but we got something to do. And while I have my brother on my phone, I'm like, yo, we got the call. So
that text was from
Usher and management.
Usher.
Yeah.
Okay, management.
And so we start going through the conversations, team huddle ups, and we're in Nashville at the time. Me and my bro in Nashville. And so we're doing these Zooms, and it was just happening so quick. Like, we really never got a chance to sit back and say, wow, we're doing the Super Bowl. But I'll tell you this, I remember telling my mom, and my mom said to me, Mijo, do you know what this means for people that look like you?
Mm-hmm. Talk about it.
And when she said that to me, I was just like, she was like, you two are the first Mexicans to ever produce a Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh,
right? And so, right? And so, right? And so, we go through that process, and then the work starts. And what I will tell you about Super
Bowl. Bro. Dude, look at my arm.
It's because it's real, right? And I'll tell you this, man. The 35 to 40 years that my brother and I have put in was truly the ingredients as to what we were going to need to take on this load. These bricks we're about to carry, we needed all that to be able to do this. Because I will say this, as we started the process, we called it NFL prison, 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Especially when the news first, when the news first breaks, when you first get the call, because from that point until the news breaks to the rest of us, like how much on lockdown were you guys about not being able to say anything? You know what I mean? Do you have to sign NDAs? Like,
man, it was, the thick of it.
There's only got to be a handful of people that can know.
Let me tell you something about the Super Bowl. Yeah. The thing about the Super Bowl, we had probably 5 to 6 different credentials that you were given to in phases. But I remember when we got into Vegas and we started building the show, I mean, there was NDA after NDA after NDA, all the way to where we had to be mindful of who was actually in the room with us, because everything we were getting ready to really dive into was really going to be our template on how we execute a high-level successful show, because the Super Bowl, they're all about ratings, right? And so that's how the process is measured every step of the way, right? When we turn in a change or an edit, all right, well, how do you think that's going to drive viewership? And so we spent a month alone just trying to put a set list together. Pencil to paper,
like what
song after song, and then what part of the songs do you do, right?
How do you squeeze a 30-year career, 30 years of songs into 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so because we couldn't, they actually gave us, and this was the first that this had ever happened. They gave Usher 14 minutes.
Oh wow!
To make sure we got in all the hits, and so for me it was challenging because I've been with Usher for so long. We've tweaked these songs a million times. So here we are at the Super Bowl. It's like, what else can I do to a song that I haven't done, right? And so Usher was big on just, let's take them back to the essence. Let's take them back to what they love about the hit. And so as we started to frame this, that was really the goal, which was we're going to reintroduce this with a great new, like, candy paint on it, but it's still going to hit you right here. And it's going to remind you what you love about this man and his musical journey. And so 6 months, 7 days a week, 18-hour days. No breaks. Sorry, family. I'm in this capsule. I love y'all.
Can't talk about it.
Can't talk about it. Don't want to talk about it, because when we go in, we're going in to kill. We're going into, like, everybody at attention. This is the target, and there is no room for error. February 1st, we finally get on the turf, where we start to actually see all these pieces come to life. And I'll mind you, we had 400 people in our production, between dancers, skaters. We had a total of 400 people, bro. So think about what that looks like coming in Vegas. Hotels, flights, per diem, food, right? So, we found this massive building where we were able to really set up our entire stage so that it looked exactly like what we were going to do on Super Bowl. And we ran everything to the point where if a wheel on the stage was funny, where they couldn't roll it out right in a amount of time, then that got changed. Those edits were made. And so, to see it all come to life, man, was a beautiful thing. And then, to see Usher really sit in a space to be able to look back and say, you know what? I've earned this. I've earned this stage. And I'm going to go out here and I'm going to kill it.
There's so many questions, man.
Yeah.
About this part of your life alone.
Yeah.
I know we talk a lot about Usher, but this is your life.
Yeah.
Who starts to make the decisions for features? Who says we're going to get Alicia Keys? Who says we're going to get her to come out when he's singing You Got It Bad?
Play the guitar solo.
Play the guitar solo and all of those types of things.
I'm going to be honest with you. From a creative aspect, from a musical aspect, from being a student of music, a lot of those features were really what Usher was feeling. There were some other things that we had other ideas on, and we found a great way to meet in the middle. Our thing was like, whoever that guest is has to be able to rise to the occasion in that moment when those lights hit you. Because what I will tell you with Super Bowl is it's like training your lungs to climb Mount Everest. Not everybody can skip that camp that you got to get to before you go to Mount Everest, because you got to get your lungs right. And so our thing was like, whoever that artist is, boy, they better be ready. They better be ready, because when you get on that stage, guess what? That adrenaline shoots off and your body starts acting different. So Usher was sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber every night for months. He was with his coaches. He was with his vocal coaches. He was learning how to control that heart that starts to do this, because when your heart starts to do that, as a vocalist, you either sing flat or you're pitchy.
Yeah, you lose breath.
You lose breath. So the amount of things he was doing to prepare for that moment, I had to make sure that everyone else that was going to join him as a guest was willing to put in that same work, because our thing was like, whatever doesn't happen right here will live on YouTube forever.
Yeah, man.
So
except for Alicia Keys' first note that she got, they did fix that one. They fixed that one.
But you know that was I loved her too, man. But you know that was the thing. We were trying to safeguard a couple of those things, but the reality is Usher wanted everybody to have that space to just fire off.
Right.
And I think, again, to what I was just saying, when that lights hit you and it's your time to go, and that happened to be her first note, and we all heard it.
Yeah.
You know, but it was one of those things where
go ahead.
She didn't hold back. You know, that was what she had in the cannon, and she fired it off. And you know, I respect that too from an artist aspect. But I know what the road looks at it as is like, dang, her voice cracked.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's a good thing though. You're editing, you know, post production,
bro.
And you can't find it anywhere now.
You can't find it
Not the original.
Yeah.
No, it's all over YouTube. It's a fix that they fixed it.
Yep.
You know, here's a fun question as far as production wise, is I know you had a big part in, putting the song list together and all that. Whose decision was it to put the Freakily beat under? Yeah,
Lil Jon.
Okay, let's go.
Lil Jon.
Yeah.
You know, Lil Jon is such a force, and you know when you're looking to cultivate energy in the audience, nobody
Such a
knows.
good call.
Nobody knows it better than Lil Jon.
Yeah,
you know,
they bring that energy.
And you know he comes from the aspect of being a DJ too, so that mindset of knowing how to freak records. Both of the records were his beats.
Both were his beats. Both 105 BPM.
105, and then bring in dum 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 at the end, right? It was like you thought was taking you up. We're gonna continue to take you up.
Oh yeah, because you put a Kilo in there too.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was probably Oh man. The Snoop and Dre and Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige one was just iconic.
Right.
And then Usher comes in. I don't think I've ever. I think, you know, when you're on your feet because a production is so good, you're watching it from your living room. You're on your feet, you can't sit on the couch. I wasn't even standing up. I was like hovering off of the floor. It was so good. The way from beginning to end.
Seamless.
Yes, seamless. From Alicia Keys to her, the guitar. Jermaine Dupri comes out ludicrous with the afro and the super outfit. You know what I mean? And then just do the A-Town. The way they ended, and it was almost like an encore at the end where you thought it was over and they went
statement.
A couple more bars just to give you that extra. Man,
and even to what Usher was saying, he was like, I brought the A.
Yeah, I brought the A to the world.
To the world, you know, and you know to really stand on that with your peers like Jermaine Dupri, Luda, and those cats. I mean, that's what really, you know, it reminds the world of how powerful music is.
Watch out, my outfit's ridiculous. He came out with that, God, it was just so.
And then, you know, you see him and he's doing his things on his skates. And then, you know, you got Will.i.am coming in for
skates.
OMG.
I forgot about that part. For OMG.
And so that's the thing, like, to understand how many things could possibly go wrong. Usher is so committed to his craft that his preparation of skates, getting the right sizes, tweaking the wheels, you know, all of that, man. You know, you see him do those things. It's like, man, this dude is a true performer.
Where were you? Was your brother there with it, along with all this?
Yeah.
So where were the Avila Brothers when this was going down? Were you on the sidelines, just watching? Like,
no, we're on stage performing.
You were on stage.
Yeah, we're in the band.
I gotta look for you, but hold on.
We're in the band. Go to there's a portion of Burn where we had a couple phases within the show, and the band moment was during all the ballads. You'll see two little Mexicans back there.
Here we go. I'm looking for Iz in the back. Are we on drums?
I was on percussion and DJ.
I see the drums back there. All I can picture is Avila back there like Bob behind what's his name in La Bamba, like, oh boy. Behind Richie Valens in La Bamba. Yo, what a moment for you. So this is something that you just helped produce, and then you're on the sidelines and like, all right, go do your thing. You're actually part of the show.
Part of the show. Man, you know, got the musicians. Shout out to the band. And you know, that's the thing. I mean, I think the thing that I think stands out for me, and you know, because people ask us about the Super Bowl all the time, and what that was for me, being able to look over on my left, see my brother, my day one, right? Then being able to look into the audience and wave to my mom and dad. I will tell
beautiful.
you know,
come on.
And it's like for me, when you look at the road of our success, Man, it's 2 seconds. You know what lasts a lifetime? Is those memories.
Yeah.
Seeing my kids, seeing my mom and dad, knowing that, you know, we never took from nobody, right? We never said we wrote that song and had some cats in the back doing it. There was no Wizard of Oz ever. And coming out of that, man, it's the biggest thing we'll ever do. There is no bigger stage than the Super Bowl. Yeah. And to know that I was able to wave to my mom and my dad.
Crazy.
Man, hey.
You can see them from where you were?
Yeah, yeah, they're right there.
Yeah.
I waved to them. And so, you know, when you get to that chapter, man, it's like, we don't have anything to prove anymore. There's nothing else to prove.
It's like in that moment you're waving to mom and dad. It's that moment where you immediately rewind back to yourself being up to 9, 10, 11 years old. And
instantly.
You know.
And you know what I think about? I think about that house we grew up in off of Cactus and Foothill in Rialto.
Let's go.
Where back then it seemed like it was a massive house. But when you pass by there, you say, wow, how did this idea of what to reach for came out of that small house, which ended up being, the world ended up being so much bigger for me and my brother. And Super Bowl, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you look at a journey like that and a story like that, you know, you got to really understand what that really means and how you translate that to the creatives coming up, which is chase your passion at all costs, because it does come with one.
Yeah.
But if you love it that much and you truly dedicate yourself, who knows? Yeah. You could be doing the Super Bowl. Yeah, you can be changing lives, you know? And so that's a testament to just having the right perspective along the way. We never chased the dollar. Never chased the dollar. And I'll tell you, did it hurt? Hell yeah.
Of course.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but we got bills to pay.
Yeah, but the reward on the other side has always been so much bigger and so much better.
Is Avila from the IE to the world. Yeah. You know?
Yep.
Okay. Let's fast forward past Super Bowl. You've done, just at this point in your life, it's like, how can it get any better?
Yep.
Here we are in 2025, you know, IE strong.
Yep.
I know you had mentioned off air that you are doing some things in the IE.
Yeah.
Shouts out to my man, by the way. I don't. You want to introduce your
program? Yeah. So as we get into this chapter,
right, new chapter.
I'm at a place where, as I said, it's about coming back home and making sure that we can foster and curate new dreamers, whether it's music, whether it's theater, whether it's art, anything creative. And so I've been on this mission to really make sure I'm entrenched in education, which is why I've brought numerous DJ programs to the school districts. Shout out to Newmark and Rain for supporting me through that, and really get in these classrooms with these kids and fostering what that's going to be for them, helping them discover passion. And so, you know, a great friend of mine, Jesse, who's a councilman of Fontana, shout out to Mike Baker. I met with him one day, and he brought me and introduced me to this wonderful man right here, Phil. And Phil has an incredible facility, which is called Stage Red, which is in Sierra, downtown Fontana. And I'll tell you, my first day meeting with Phil, I understood one thing, that he loves music. And anytime I meet somebody that loves music the way he loves it, there are some things we can do that are powerful. And so, you know, I got involved with Stage Red, and, you know, I love what they've been able to create. I love what their mindset is behind it. And, you know, I really wanted to make it a point to share and offer anything I possibly can to make sure that place, Stage Red, is recognized as we move forward as a place that can bring the IE quality talent and incredible experience, and then also make it a hub and location for aspiring, you know, music, band, theater, comedy, all those things. Yeah. Because we've never had a home like that here in the IE.
If you guys have not stopped through Stage Red yet, it's a brand new venue in the heart of Fontana, right off the 10 freeway.
Come over here, Phil. Come on, man.
Let's get Phil on the mic real quick. We can talk about it. You know, picture, you know, House of Blues here in the IE. It's got an upper level, a lower level. It's got VIP rooms, a beautiful stage, a huge,
impeccable.
Yeah, it's got, you know, concert grade sound system, lighting. It's perfect. You know, I mean, but it's just that perfect size where you can have full on concerts or a comedy show. Or you want to talk about it, Phil?
Yeah, no, that was the wall art in the background. I'm over here fangirling, listening to all these stories. Stage Red, it came about as part of the reinvention of downtown Fontana. The name is in tribute to Sammy Hagar, who is Fontana. He's a Fohi guy.
Yes.
So when you hear the stories from Iz and Bobby and what they went through from Rialto, you got Sammy Hagar, Travis Barker from Fontana, Jaden Daniels. Inland Empire is not LA's ugly stepchild.
No.
You know, we got people. There's 5 million people out
Glad
here.
you mentioned Jaden Daniels too, because it's not just
the
music;
man.
it's from sports to you know.
Yeah, it's everything. I mean, I grew up a Redskins fan. I grew up in the DC area, so I'm looking forward to meeting Jaden someday. But the idea of Stage Red was, and when we started talking to Sammy and his team about it, was to promote local artists. It's an intimate club. This isn't the arena. It's not Yamava. Its max capacity is less than 500 people. So the idea is to have something close enough that the artist can be with the fans and really have a moment. Iz and I were talking last week that everybody should have that walk-on WWE moment when you walk out there and the crowd's going crazy.
Yes.
So what we're very excited to meet. I've only known Iz for a few months, and I feel like it's been a life. He's been living in my head for 3 or 4 months now.
Frequency.
Yeah, you just try. Once you get that simpatico moment, you find someone that identifies and gets it, and kind of gets what you're trying to do. So he's been just great to work with to help, and we really want to promote the local guys. We want to serve the IE population. We're like I said, 5 million people. That's bigger than 13 states. There's a lot of people that can come in the artistry out of here.
Right.
So Stage Red was just there for live entertainment. It's going to be all kinds of entertainment. It's just, we're still getting our legs under us. It's probably a couple years before downtown Fontana, but Stage Red, we're putting some pretty good shows in there. From country to rock, we had mariachi last year. We're working on getting some bandas there. But tomorrow night, Thompson Square, which is a big country act, a couple CMAs behind him. So just coming to Fontana.
I saw a flyer the other day. You guys having the Village people, the YMCA?
Village people are coming. Yeah, they're riding that whole Trump train right now. So they're out there touring. But yeah, lots of good bands. Eve 6. I mean, there's lots of good shows come out here, and I think people aren't used to that being a Rialto or a Fontana or a Cucamonga thing. It's something you always got to go to LA for. So we're trying to get it. We were talking a little bit earlier, all the stuff going on in Ontario right now, the things that are going on in Fontana and Rancho, you shouldn't need to drive 2 hours to go see something like that. So the city wanted to do something for its residents, to give entertainment, to give people a place to go so you can get decked out, or you can just go have a cocktail and enjoy a good show.
I love it. The IE is no stranger to the nightclub life. You got downtown Redlands, you got downtown Riverside, and the clubs pop up here and there, and all of them, will host an artist here and there, but it's so dope to have a venue that's actually built for that. Yeah. This is something different. This is like an entertainment venue. Man, I can't wait to see what you guys put together there.
It's gonna be dope.
We need a Nick Nack resident.
Come on, man. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, you joke. So as we get to the point when you start developing more shows and working with people that are really connected to the industry, and you get some big talent to come through Fontana, I jokingly say it's not unique to have a downtown. I mean, if you're in Fontana, you got Claremont 30 minutes to the west, you got Redlands 30 minutes to the east. We're the seedy middle, and that's who we want to be. Yes. We're more Gaslamp than Redlands, and everybody's got their own thing, and there's plenty of stuff out there. But Fontana's going to be about the nightlife, and it starts with music.
Plus, all the best taco shops are like right off of
They
Sierra.
all are.
You know what I mean?
They are.
Like right there.
Man, I can never leave California.
Come on, man. We gotta try.
Have you had a taco out of state?
No.
Don't do that. You don't do that. That's wrong.
No. I definitely haven't. This is where the best tacos are for sure. For sure, man. Well, thank you, man, so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing Stage Red grow. I look forward to seeing the relationship grow and the shows that you guys are going to put on there, man. Like I said, I mentioned off air that I had a chance to go visit it, and the venue's beautiful, man. I'm a believer because I've seen it in person.
Insane. You should hear it.
Oh, I've heard it.
Okay.
When I was there was a band that was rehearsing when I was there, so it's just, oh man, it sounds incredible.
Little sound check, yeah.
They were doing sound check, yeah. So, well, listen, is Avila. I hate to wrap this up, man, but you know what? You are here in the IE, or IE native. I'm sure we can do, round 2, episode 2 soon. Your story is incredible, man. I feel like this is a long time coming.
Yeah, for sure.
So just thank you, man. Thank
you for having me. Thank you for having us. I think, just understanding the home IE for me and to my brother is just a special place for us. And we are now in that chapter in our creative journey where it's mandatory that we're here in the trenches, we're boots on ground, and we're making sure that we pass the information and the baton.
Yeah.
Because in order for this thing to continue to live, we need others that are younger to understand what that roadmap looks like and what it's going to require. It's going to require greatness. And who can curate greatness if you've never been to what's great, right?
The
mountaintop. So we're here, man. And I think what we're doing with Stage Red is very, very impactful. And it's rooted in the understanding of great experience and what that looks like and resonating with the community. So, it was just, we had to get up here and just have this conversation, man, because IE is a force.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot that has come from the IE, and we got a lot of talented kids that are on the come up. And so we just want to make sure that, you can't skip over us. You can't skip over the IE.
Yeah, we deserve to be in the conversation.
We deserve to be in the conversation. And the more we have that are able to, move the needle, it's a great story to be talked about. It's a great thing to be mentioned. And so shout out to all the IE natives, C4, Dirty Birdie, all the cats that have been putting in work.
Come on, man.
Kenny Loggins, everybody. There's Diamonique.
Come on.
James Felix, just making sure that nobody's forgotten.
That's right.
ODM. ODM, Lighter Shade of Brown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sly Boogie.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Yeah.
And the list goes on. I mean, there's a lot that have really
and
put
in
in the
every
work.
sector too. Shout out Hit Boy from
Hit
Fontana.
Boy.
Hit Boy. Price Tag and Octane. Formerly Audio Push.
Yep. All of them.
Man,
Nick, okay, you're a student. You're a student.
Born and raised. I'm from Ontario. I went to Ontario High School. I went to UCR. I'm IE through and through, man. This is, hosting a night show on a radio station I grew up listening to. It's just, it's incredible, man. So this is where it's at.
It is, man.
I wear it on my chest proud.
Same here, man. So again, man, thank you for making time for us, man. And we definitely want to stay locked and loaded with you. I love to see you spending one day at Stage Red doing your thing. And it's there for this. It's there for building community and fostering talent. And so yeah, man.
Absolutely.
99.1.
Is Avila, let them know where to find you online, all that.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. You can find the Avila Brothers on IG, Instagram, Twitter. The handle is Avila Brothers. You can find me at is_Avila on all the social handles. My brother Avila, AHVLAH. It's where you can find him.
Come down next time, man.
Yeah, what up, Bob?
On, man.
Yeah, we'll drag him out here. And, it'd be cool to come out here and do something on the fly. Like I'll bring my drum machine. Yes. Bobby can bring his thing. And he'll bring I'll have him bring his talk box.
Yo, I'm about to say bring the vocoder.
Yeah. And we'll play some of the hits.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, please. Oh, that'd be great, man.
Yeah.
Listen, it's Avila. I appreciate you, man. I enjoyed this.
IE all day, man. Thank you for having us.
It's Nick Nack, 90.1. We out of here.
Rockstar Radio Podcast.